the latest news from Stadia.
Time for Ask Cloudy this week, but we'll make it up next week, sort of thing. Hi, how's it going, Cloudy? Cloudy Rokk with no, I think they're mutes.
I was mute. Yeah. I know. It's yeah. Thanks, Kelly. Yeah. Good morning, everybody. Look, you know what? What would a rock show be without tech issues? And I do it to myself. You wouldn't believe what I've got running here. I've got 3 monitors. I've got a new microphone. I've got apps and stuff and everything else. But hey, it don't matter none. We shouldn't even be seeing that overlay. How's it going, Duncan, my friend? How are you?
I am doing a great here.
Oh. We didn't even have the proper countdown. I'm gutted.
Oh, and now we're echoing all over the show.
I tell you what we're going to do, my friend. Firstly, you're echoing. Nobody else is. You're gone.
Oh.
The second thing is we're going to start again. Watch this. I know I'm nothing but the consummate professional. Here we go. And now we're back. There's me on my own and no Duncan. Where's he gone? I don't know. I don't know what's going on, mate. It's all terrible, and
I think you should just keep that for
Oh, I tell you, I set all this. We spend hours setting this stuff up. You wouldn't believe it. Giving away all our little trade secrets and everything. Hang on a minute, folks. It will get better. I promise.
Yeah,
hang on, it will. Oh, the fuck up in there. Oh, that was live.
Can I just say, it wasn't me swearing. Everybody thinks I still swear.
It's not Duncan, it's me. Oh, man.
Everybody's focused anyway.
I can't even find your video, mate. Oh, no. Oh, I think we should. I think we should just.
Everybody's loving it, so don't be
I think we should just go home and forget the world even existed. Oh dear. Well, there you go. Stadia Rokks live. It's not only for casual people and those new to Stadia. It's for the casual-minded like me and those new to tech like me. Well, look, you know what? We could keep restarting, but we've got a busy schedule, haven't we?
We've got a very busy schedule here.
Yeah, so we don't want to be doing that. Let me just pull get Cloud Gamer. There he is. It's all good. It's all fine. Right, let's crack on. We'll re-record this whole thing and put it out in a month, so you can catch up with the news then. See if this works.
Yes, we will do that. But Rokk, don't be worried about this. Everything's fine.
Duncan, help! Latest news. What the heck has been going on this week?
Nothing has happened this week in the world of Stadia. Nothing at all. No, we have had our Stadia Connect, and it has been a real good show there. We've got a load of new game announcements. We've got new features coming, or features which we knew were coming. We've now got a semi-date for them. So what we'll do here is we will go for a quick rundown of everything, what happened during the Stadia Connect here, and just getting the details up here because my PC's actually acted up now as well.
Oh yeah, of course. And you're seeing by delay because normally, folks, I have it plugged in so that the guests and the hosts can see what's going live. None of it's happened. Now we're just running through the VT, the original Connect VT, which I just I know you guys can hear, but I'll just turn it down. You've seen and heard it all before. I think we had 12 new or 12 games announced, didn't we, Duncan, in the Connect this week?
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll go for a wee quick rundown of everything that was announced, and then we can
Cool.
expand on it.
Excellent.
The first big news is we have got our first exclusive game coming to Stadia, which is they've used a new term, which is only on Stadia, and that is Outcasters by Splash Damage, which is going to be like a shooter game, and which we're going to come to later, because this is actually a big thing for Stadia.
Yeah.
The next game is Orcs Must Die Free. Is now a Stadia Pro game. Again, I think we may touch on that later. We also got announced that we're going to get 3 games by 3 developers. Stadia have not bought these developers; they're just working on games for them, and they are Harmonix. I can speak.
Harmonix, yep.
Upper Cut Games and Supermassive Games. Harmonix are known for like music games. If you've heard of Rock Band and Guitar Hero, I'm not sure. I think they used to make that, and all got all messed up. So they do music and rhythm sort of games. So that's going to be interesting. And Supermassive Games is the interesting one. That's the wild card in all this. They're known for horror games. So really deep story games. So that's going to be an interesting one to keep an eye on. The next game is Super Bomberman R Online. It's something I'm really interested in this game. I found out some more details on it, so I think we're going to go a bit into that. One Hand Clapping was announced and released, and that is actually a nice cheap game on Stadia. And a couple of our amazing people out there have actually started showing this game off. It's a bit unusual where you have to sing or do some music to it. I would say shout out to Ray, because he's actually got a video on the interwebs about that on Twitter. Him is singing away. Next game is Dead by Daylight. Again, this is a game I think we may come back to a wee bit later, just to have a much more wider discussion, because this is going to be a big game for Stadia come September. PUBG got an update. Changing the map and added a couple of more wee things to the game. We've got some Stadia Pro announcements as well, and one of these is Hitman, and we're getting the Hitman trilogy. So we're going to get Hitman and Hitman 2 in September, and it looks like we're getting Hitman 3 when it launches early next year. Hitman, the original, is going to be a pro game in September.
Right, okay.
We also got Series X 4, and we've got another trailer about that. Outriders is coming to Stadia, which is made by Square Enix, which is an RPG shooter. I know we're blasting all these games at you. It's just to give
Yeah, you've ruined my news, mate. I had it all lined up. Where's he put that one? Oh, no.
We've got WWE 2K Battlegrounds is coming. We've got a couple of sports games in PGA and NBA. Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. This is got a hardcore game for the hardcore audience. It's a really, really tough game, and it's a really interesting one that this is coming. And we also got 2 more pro game announcements in Hello Neighbor and Hello Neighbor Hide and Seek, and both are coming to Stadia. So we know what September, or 2 of September's games are pro games. Hello Neighbor is coming in September, and their second one, Hello Neighbor Hide and Seek, is coming holiday 2020. Okay. So you may have seen that there was nothing really announced at this Connect. However, as we've just seen, we've just rattled off an absolute load of things, and there's so much to actually dig into here, and there's so much positive news from this Connect.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think, I haven't heard many people say that there was nothing in this Connect. It's absolutely dripping with stuff, particularly if your main interest is in playing games on Stadia. As I've said, 12 games minimum announced, plus a couple of one absolute exclusive, a couple of first looks on Stadia. We've got some big games coming that are big games. So it's a lot. There's a lot. I thought there was a huge amount. I really enjoyed it. And I think, there was a lot to unpack in those 18 minutes. It's kind of, as I say, well, it was only 18 minutes long. It's worth putting it on quarter speed Because, things like we're seeing here, crowd choice, Duncan, first time we mentioned this last week or the week before in a bit more detail. And this is the first time that we have seen them actually mentioning crowd choice. And they made a big thing of click to play as well, which I think, again, two huge things worth maybe going back over.
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
not.
Yes, or not. Yes, exactly. We'll start on the crowd choice one because this is the first time I've actually seen it in action. And the game which showcased this was Day by Day, or Death by Day,
Death by Chocolate. That's
Death
my
by
one.
Chocolate,
Yeah,
Death,
absolutely.
Death by Daylight. That game is going to be an absolute monster hit on Stadia come September. It
Yeah.
is going to be massive. Crowd choice was shown off in this, and it was basically if you Rokk are streaming Day by Daylight on Rockstars at night,
Yeah.
on Friday night, you put a choice into the chat saying, do you want Rokk to be the survivor or the monster?
Yeah.
And if they say they want you to be the monster, you get a second choice saying which monster you are going to be.
Right.
So this is going to give streamers more interactivity with their audiences and give people more things to do. So this is an absolute massive thing going forward. And if people were watching you play this game, underneath your link or underneath your YouTube video, there is going to be a link saying, click to play this on Stadia. And it's exactly what it says on the tin. You click that and you can go into the game. The only caveats are you have to be a pro member at the moment to enable for that to happen, and you have to own the game.
Okay. But nonetheless, good to have. I mean, and how long has Dead by Daylight been out in the real world?
It's been out for a good couple of years, but it's got
the real world.
In the real world, it's been
the non-virtual cloud world.
It's been out for a good couple of years now, and it's got a really, really healthy user base.
Yeah.
Again, this leads us into something which Stadia is pushing a lot. Day by Daylight. I cannot speak here.
Death by Chocolate. Just call it Death by Chocolate. You can't go wrong.
Death by Chocolate will have cross-platform multiplayer. So what that means is you won't have to worry as much for when you're trying to get multiplayer games. So if you're playing on Stadia, you could be playing with someone on Xbox, PC, PlayStation. You can be playing with anybody, anywhere. So this is going to actually help the numbers of people actually playing it, and you should be able to get a game no matter what.
No, it's interesting because I have Dead by Daylight on PC. As you said, it's been out for a little while. So I downloaded it the other day to have a look at it. And I mean, it looks great, but I couldn't get a game up. And that was on PC. I mean, granted, it was fairly early in the morning. I think it was maybe about 6 o'clock. But it couldn't find a match. I'm hoping, ironically, when it comes to Stadia, we'll see the reverse of that. Because I think the one thing that we do see with Stadia is that there is a commitment. So when a new title comes, you certainly initially you can usually find enough people to play with you, and as you've said, because it'll be cross-platform, that's going to help enormously. It certainly helps with PUBG. It helps with I think the Division is cross-platform. There's a few games right now, aren't there, that are cross-platform that are good. It should work really well for.
Yeah, this is a big push for Death by Chocolate. Say I'm going back to Death by Chocolate.
If it's easier, mate, whatever floats your boat.
This is actually being pushed out to all platforms come September, so that's going to push this for everybody, not just some Stadia. So if you, like you said, you were having some problems, this should actually relieve the problems for absolutely everybody going forward. I think cross-platform multiplayer is going to be a massive thing for a lot of these games going forward, especially the smaller type games. I think it just increases the audience and will keep the game active for a lot longer. And some games just actually need a bit more time to build up the audience, so it's going to be good for everybody in gaming going forward.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, 12 games spread. And what was also quite interesting, Duncan, for the first time, I think, was they pre-announced some of those games will be pro games in not even next month, but in the month after or further down the road. And that was quite interesting to see as well, wasn't it?
Yep, it was very interesting to see. It's like I said in the brief introduction, we know that Hello Neighbor is coming in September along with Hitman. So we
Hmm.
know two games in September which are coming. We also, we're going to touch this a bit. There we also know a game which is coming in August, but we'll touch on that a bit because we're just concentrating on the Connect here.
Sure.
We also know Hello Neighbor Hide and Seek is coming holiday 2020. This is
Hmm.
actually giving us good news going out, so we can actually say, yeah, we're getting games here, and we know when we're getting games. And so this was a massive positive for Stadia that we're starting to see that we're getting a roadmap. We're starting to see what's coming out during the Connect as well. We actually they touched on what games we already know which are coming to the system, but we're going to come to them to actually show. Uh, there is an absolute mountain of games coming to Stadia, and
Mm.
come September, we are going to be nearly drowning in games which we will want to play, and some of these games which are coming are going to take absolutely hours upon hours to complete. We've got games coming which are role-playing games which are notorious for taking such a long time to complete. So there's so many good things actually coming to Stadia, and I'm telling you now, we are going to be getting games which haven't even been announced as yet.
Right. Okay. You know that?
I know that. I ain't going to go out there and say I know that.
Oh, you did say I'm telling you now. So is this breaking news from Cloudy?
This is not breaking news from Cloudy. This is just going on what was going before, because
Okay.
we've actually still got a stack of games which have no release dates as yet. I'm just talking about game. We're going to be hit by games coming August up until the end of the year from games
Hmm.
we know the actual release dates.
Yeah.
And there's still a lot of games which have been announced for Stadia, and there is no announced dates for them. So
Right.
we are going to be swimming in games in a couple of months. So there is nothing to be worried about from the games front. And
There are more than I can play right now, let alone in a couple of months' time.
yep, tell me about it. It's the backlog is becoming real in Stadia.
Yeah.
Uh, it's like I said, I'm actually excited on what's going forward here. We've got so many games coming, and we're not going to actually have enough time to actually play them all.
No. No, and the other point to make as well, I think, which is quite an important one, is how many of these. I mean, we're looking right now, Duncan, at, and you should, by the way, be able to see this now on your screen. We're looking at Hitman here, and this is Hitman 3, I believe, that we're seeing on the video, which we've said is coming out in January. But the point is, and we saw that with the little red duck, these have been specially remastered for Stadia. So we may be getting games that are a few months old, but they are, they're fresh to Stadia. They have features that are new. There's no other platform that has little red ducks. But I'm being flippant, but there's a load of content and a load of features in these apps, these games that doesn't exist in the previous versions on other platforms.
Exactly, and the best game to actually showcase that is actually Super Bomberman R Online. That is
Hmm.
basically a reskin version of Super Bomberman R, which has been out for a number of years on Switch, PlayStation 4, Xbox.
Okay.
The Stadia version, you made the joke about having a new red rubber duck ear in Hitman. In Super Bomberman R, I'm not even going to talk about the big feature, which is part of that. Well, I'll touch on in a second. In Super Bomberman R, we're getting something which has never been in the Bomberman game before. When you drop a bomb, there's bomb skins now, so you could drop down popcorn, so popcorn kills people instead of that. I know that
Okay.
sounds really daft, but it is something which is completely different. It's a remaster of a old game which is actually adding
Yes.
Stadia things.
Yes. No, and I mean, I played Watch Dogs 2 a little bit the other day. Now that's now a 3 or 4 year old game, and yet still a remarkable title. And I think that's one of the things I actually really like about Stadia, is we get introduced or reintroduced to games that we may have thought were passe and old, but actually they're still great titles. And with the work that they do to remaster them, they're well worth. Now, the game we're seeing on screen at the moment, which is about to disappear, is Outcasters, which is it's a game by Splash Damage, specially commissioned by Google for Stadia. I mean, this looks amazing, and again, it's one of those easily digestible, fun games. Not You don't have to spend a lot of time thinking about how to play it. Fire it up, jump in, play it on any screen, and it works just as well on mobile, which I think is, we've always said, it's what underlines Stadia. It's the big Stadia difference, isn't it? It's what this show is about. And in a second, when we do a Rokk review, we talk about those are the things that Stadia brings to an audience. So it's great to see that, and I think that's a big clue towards the kind of exclusives that we may see in the future for the platform.
Yeah, at this moment in time, there is a big, massive push to these smaller, quick play titles, which are co-op, easy drop in, easy
Yep.
drop out. You can play on the go, play on your phone for a couple of minutes, and then disappear again. Or you can actually sit down and play them for hours if you're on the TV or playing on your computer. The games that they're bringing have got lots of versatility to them, and they're easily played everywhere.
Of
Uh,
course.
if I just go back to the Bomberman one, something else which was brought up for really the first time in the open sort of space is crowd play. So we touched on this a couple of weeks ago we actually described what crowd play is, and I actually showed you how this is going to be implemented in Bomberman. Bomberman is going to be bringing a new mode, Battle 64, and it's as it says on the tin, it's going to be 64 players and the battle royale sort of scenario. So
Right.
you're going to be able to play with a load of people, and it's that's
That's
that
huge.
that's person standing. That could be a real fun palate cleanser of a game, and I can see this
Mm.
possibly taking off because Bomberman has a big following out there, and this being really accessible for everything out there, it could be massive. Crowd,
Yeah, no, absolutely agree. Sorry, Duncan. Oh, hang on.
sorry, I think that looks cool, by the way.
We can do that, but let's not. I like to see your face when you talk.
The crowd playing that is going to be massive. Again,
Hmm.
rock stars at night. Instead of playing PUBG, we could drop the link in for Bomberman at the start of the game,
Yeah.
and that's what it is. You drop a link in, and people can actually, or not. You don't have to drop a link in. You can say, "This is set up for crowd play." Get in the queue, and you can play this all at a click of a button. So
Nice.
just think about that. That is just going to be a real handy thing to do. And if you're watching people play, they can actually allow you to actually play with them. So that is going to be a real brilliant feature going forward. And it's going to, for these sort of games, it is absolutely perfect. And Death by Chocolate will also have that feature as well.
We can see on the screen there, play with your favorite streamer. And I think, this is something that a lot of content creators have been really looking forward to. I know that you and I, we have a show on a Friday night, which is, it's kind of aimed at maybe slightly more traditional hardcore gamers, but we get a load of people jumping in and playing with us. I think we had about 40 at one point on Friday, and because a lot of existing games have those features, but this makes it very simple. Press a button, there you go, jump in, and you're on the money, aren't you?
Yeah, you are, and it just relieves. It's about relieving barriers to actually join in and play with people. This is what Stadia is about.
Mm.
It's just taking down any sort of obstructions you have to gaming. Uh, doesn't matter what device you play on. Doesn't matter what controller you play on. For the most part, if you're playing on mobile, it
Yep.
is just expanding the reach of gaming for everybody, and you can
Mm.
beat it. It is going to these games with crowd choice are going to be absolutely massive going forward, and we already know that there's a couple of other games in the Stadia library which are going to have it as well. And Get Packed Ember is going to have it as well, and you can see other games which could be implemented too. And I think PUBG is a prime example. We may see that as well.
Do we know? Sorry, do we know if Rock of Ages, which is coming up, do we know if that has any? Is that a multiplayer or is that purely a solo?
It's a co-op. You can play a co-op game.
Okay.
But I'm not sure. I'm actually going to be reaching out to the guys to find out if there's anything special for the Stadia release.
Yeah, because that could be quite interesting, couldn't it? If I mean, it's an interesting looking game. Anyway, there's old Humpty there. Look. So, and we now have, as we said, we have a release date. The interesting thing about this one is that we're not getting it the same date as everybody else, but what we are getting is it as a pro game. So if you've got a pro subscription, you don't have to pay for it.
Exactly. So I'm happy enough with that trade-off. So I'm a pro subscriber, and I think most people are pro subscribers who are on Stadia. So what we're getting here is we're getting a brand new game, but instead of getting it day and date, we're getting it a month later, but it's going to be free on Pro.
Yeah.
I'm for one, I'm happy enough with that trade-off. If we get a game later and we're getting it on Pro, I think most people would be happy with that.
No, absolutely, and it is a great looking game. It reminds me of Monty Python, but that's because I'm old.
Yeah, it is very Monty Python-like, isn't it? It's a tower defense sort of game. So
yes.
So it is going to be quite interesting to play that one. I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because Orcs Must Die 3, which was released this week on the day of the Connect, I think, wasn't it? Or was it the next day? I forget. It was one of those. Excuse me, but that's a tower defense game, and has all those kinds of features. Because I've never really played tower defense games before, but that's been really well received, hasn't it, in the community?
Yeah, it has. A lot of people are actually really, really buzzing about this game, and it's got actually reasonable reviews out there as well. And a couple of the big gaming sites have actually reviewed it, and they've reviewed it on Stadia, and they've given it reasonably positive reviews in that as well. So it is really, really good that it's starting to get out there. Orcs Must Die 3 came out on the day of the Connect. Unfortunately, I think that was one of the big surprises, but unfortunately, it got out there a wee bit earlier. So
as a surprise,
a surprise was late. But it is a real fun game, and it does have an older audience as well, because the older titles are 10 years old. So there is an actual bit of love for that game. So I think that may have brought some people into the Stadia family after that, because as you know, you don't need a good PC to actually play this, because this was released on PC as well. So
yeah, absolutely.
So people who maybe not are keeping up with their PC can actually jump in and play that on Stadia. And it is a pro game, so if all I had to do was sign up for the free month to give that a go. It's Pringles with Stadia. Once you actually play it, you actually get addicted to it, and once you stop, you can't.
Pringles for Stadia. Yeah. Love that. Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying.
Once you pop, you can't stop. So
absolutely. No product placement, and absolutely no monosodium glutamate was dispensed in the making of this game, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah,
we were toying with this being a Rokk review this week, but we're going to spend a bit more time with it. But certainly, as I said, a load of people. I don't think I've seen a dodgy review of this game. It does take a little while to load, mind you. We'll have to remember that when we come around to reviewing it. But it is good fun. I threw it up on the old screen first thing this morning, and just because I thought we were going to do a Rokk review of it, really. But I have to say it was good. And a tower defense is something, as I said, I've never really played before, so it was interesting to see how that works. Right. I'm not going to play this, by the way. I've just put it up on the screen for something to see. What have we got next on our latest news, Duncan, or are we done?
Oh, we've got actually.
I know we could go on forever on news this week, couldn't we?
We could do. One of the big games which is actually coming to Stadia in September, which I think a lot of people forgot about. I actually forgot about it until I seen this earlier in the week. Marvel's Avengers is coming in September to Stadia. Which,
Yes.
So they're actually having a new roundtable coming up in the next 2 weeks, and they're just going to expand on what's going on and in Marvel's Avengers. There is a beta coming out as well, so you can actually try the game. Unfortunately, the beta is not on Stadia, but you can play it on other platforms just to get a feel of the game. But this could be one of the big games of the year, and that's coming out in September. So,
it's an interesting point that you make about betas, and we do have an early access that launched this week, which of course is in essence a beta, and I think that's a program that will see more and more betas released. I think the only thing I would say is that when they're early access, and I'm talking about a game called One Hand Clapping, when it's early access on Stadia, there is some kind of payment. Whereas, of course, that's not always the case in the wider gaming world with betas. So I don't know that we're going to see those large betas, but we certainly do get the odd one or two, don't we?
We do indeed. We get the early access games, which is fine. In the coming months, I believe we're going to get some of these betas coming, but I think that's a more longer term sort of thing. I think they're still trying to work out how they're going to implement them going forward.
Yeah.
But betas are an interesting beast. You do get access to the game, but the game isn't finished, and there could be issues with it, and it may not feel completely right. It gives you a flavor of the game rather than what the whole game is going to be like, because things are going to be added, taken, and possibly taken away following feedback from the beta. But it's actually going to be interesting that you can actually try it on the other platforms, just say if you're going to get it on Stadia or whatever. It's don't be reading too much into the not getting the beta access. I think Stadia is still finding their feet in regards to some of the other features which are on other platforms.
Of course, and I mean here we're seeing the One Hand Clapping early access game on Stadia, which is £2.50. And to be fair, I've had a little play of this. It's in a pretty good state for £2.50. That's not bad. Now it may come as a free pro game. We don't know. But you know what? My attitude to that is what the heck? Let's give the developers something to encourage them to keep developing games, because of course that money goes straight, or most of it goes straight to the developer. And it's a really great game. And the thing I love about this title, which I have bought, the reason it's not showing as bought is because I've logged into a different account. The reason that I love this game is that you control the character with your voice by singing, which makes it probably one of the most accessible games for anyone that might have a physical disability on this platform. And I love that, and I hope we see more of that to come in the future as well.
Yep. I think if they're not using the Microsoft Adaptive Controller, there's plans of actually using it. That's actually something I'm going to actually look into after you saying that. Stadia is trying to push that all out so it's accessible for absolutely everybody, and that has to be applauded. And this game as well, open to everybody, and it is worth trying at that price, £2.50. You can't beat that. Here we go. We'll show our age. I remember going to the shop and you used to buy games for £2 and £2.50. If you go Commodore 64 games, used to be just sold £2 for just £5, or what's like a really good game, or there was like the £20, £30 games.
I don't ever remember games at £2.50, Duncan. I think there must have been special rates down your road, but I hear what you're saying.
They were just out there.
They're like bargain bucket games. Yeah, been out for like 3 or 4 years, and you just filled your pockets.
You got the week cassette tape, and they were £2 for a pop.
We could go down the road of popping down the market and seeing the chap there with all the BAS C60s with all your favourite games on for £1, but we won't go there. That never happened, did it? So that's one hand clapping, and as I said, it's a great title. I actually watched Clive Illenden doing a first play of this, and yeah, it was excruciating. I've got to be frank. I wouldn't recommend putting the audio on if you're going to watch people do, unless they've got a beautiful operatic voice. And I can hold a note. I've got to be fair. I've got to be frank. But I struggled to control this little chap. So what I consider a reasonable voice versus what this game considered a reasonable voice are two completely separate things.
Also, I've seen some people actually use a keyboard. I think it was Adam off Stadium Source used a keyboard
Oh, right.
for a bit more control in that.
I didn't know you could do that. So you
Uh,
can actually control the character without the use of your voice.
You're just using
You could do WASD to make it move around, but unless I'm wrong, you have to create the platforms that you jump up and down on. You've got to emit a note. I won't show you, folks. It would a cat would run away. You never see it again.
Oh, when I say keyboard, I would mean like a piano keyboard, so you could use it.
Okay.
Okay,
Like
there you go.
okay, right, clever. Yeah, or get the perfect note and record it. Of course, and just press it that way. But then that sort of defeats the object, and it is fun. And it would be great to see this as a sort of a multiplayer thing as well. I know it's not, but as a sort of co-op in the future or a multiplayer where you could go up against your friends and see who's got the best voice. But there you go, that's that one. What else did we have that we wanted to just quickly cover off?
We have a new game on the platform as well, on top of these other two games which came up to Connect. We got Tomb Raider, Temple of Osiris.
Yep.
Again, this is another co-op game.
New to us, but it's another game that's been out and about for a little while.
Yeah, and it came on as a pro deal as well, not a free pro game, a pro deal. So you would have to pay for this. It is £10, or sorry, that's not £10. It's £7.50. It is $10 on the pro deal, but it's going to be normally £15 and $20.
Okay.
It is a fun game. You can play that co-op. It's what we call an atypical Stadia game at this moment in time. You can pick up, you can go, you can play it for a bit. It encourages co-op. So yeah, it's not a bad title. It's not a great title. Just here's your geekiness here coming out.
Yeah.
If you notice, it's not a Tomb Raider game. It's a Lara Croft game.
Good shout. Yeah.
The Tomb Raider is actually for the third or to the adventuring type thing. So they made the distinction that this is not a Tomb Raider game. This is a Lara Croft game. So don't be going in expecting Tomb Raider. This is more 2.5D, which means it's isometrical and you can't really control the camera, etc. So
it does look really good, though, doesn't it? It's graphically, it's really good, and it's extending the franchise. It's not. Or deviation on the franchise, I should say. So they've gone off to the side slightly to Tomb Raider, but it's a kind of, as you've said. Sorry, Duncan, I interrupted you very badly, but it's an isometric puzzler. But it looks to me I'm seeing multiple characters, so I'm presuming it's a co-op as well.
Yep, it is a co-op game as well. So yeah, it's a Tomb Raider game you can play with people during the main story. One other tiny thing to notice. Tomb Raider is an old game. You've got 3 different basically styles in it. You've got the original Tomb Raider, you've got the updated one, which is a bit more cartoony, and you've now got the more realistic one, which we've all got in Stadia. This is using the character models from the middle sort of period where it's a bit more cartoony.
Right.
So it's not, if you go into it, don't be expecting Lara Croft to look like in what she looks like in
the newer games. Yeah. No, I agree. So that looks really, really good, and that's currently live on the platform, so you can buy it or download it, whatever's your personal preference. And how much did you say it was? Sorry. Currently,
it's £7.50 on Pro or £15 if you.
Wow.
So it is maybe worth checking out if you're interested
Yeah.
in that sort of
And
thing.
again, it ticks the old jump in, have a play it on your mobile, your television, your laptop, whatever. They seem to be very consciously looking to bring games that will work across all the platforms, not just specifically one of the platforms, if that makes sense.
Yeah, what there does seem to be a clear pattern. The games which you're bringing on, which you're bringing in, which aren't the quote unquote big games like your
Yeah.
Assassin's Creeds and Cyberpunks, do seem to have a big focus that you can play it anywhere, with as many or in co-op as well. We are getting ones here and there which are single player only or the bigger titles, but the majority of the titles coming in do seem to have that tightly nailed focus. We want this sort of game on the platform initially.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. I think that's interesting to see. And this week, I think more than any other week has made that very obvious that is the plan moving forward, which is absolutely bang on in terms of our audience and what we believe Stadia is. It's carving its niche in the gaming world.
Exactly. That's what they're aiming for, and they're supplementing it with the big games. Uh, we can just here. I'll just rhyme off a couple of these hardcore titles for
Hmm.
the hardcore, which a lot of people seem to have forgot, which is coming next month. We've got Baldur's Gate 3, which is
Yep.
this hardcore, deep thinking, for a really big gamer market. That is coming out next week.
Yeah. Big AAA title as well. Lots of investment on that one.
And lots of Stadia only features in that one as well. So
Yeah.
that is a title which we need to keep a massive eye on because that's actually going to showcase what's going to be happening in Stadia going forward.
Yeah.
Then we've got Avengers in September. We also have Jedi Fallen Order. A Star Wars game is coming to Stadia.
Mm.
We've got FIFA coming. We've got Madden coming. We have Watch Dogs coming. We have
Mm.
Assassin's Creed coming. We have the Hitman games coming. We've got Far Cry coming. We've got Cyberpunk coming. We have got a load of big games, uh, which are going to be coming by the end of the year,
Yeah.
and we are going to be absolutely swimming. This is
Drenched in games.
we are going to be drenched in games, and
Yeah.
then on top of that is we're going to be getting these other games, these indie games, uh, where you can dive in, dive out, and palette cleanse your palette and everything with it is just going
The sorbet of gaming is what you're
yeah,
essentially saying there. Get
yes,
yourself a melon ball of gaming.
ex- exactly. It's you do need that, and the best thing about Stadia is you don't have to worry about downloads. I think this is going to become bigger and bigger and bigger, and the more months and more games come onto the system. You're sitting there playing Assassin's Creed, and
Mm.
you're thinking, no, I need something else to break up my mind. Oh yeah, I got Rock of Ages free on Pro. I'm going to go back and play that, and you just jump in straight away
Yeah.
and cleanse your palate.
Lots and lots and lots of stuff to come. Exciting times. Should we wrap up on the latest news because we're the old clock is a ticking, and move on to our next feature for today?
Yes,
What say
absolutely.
you? Let's do it. Let's see if we can. I'm dreading pressing this button. Let's just do it, mate. Let's just do it.
What's up, Rokk?
I t-
Well,
That's brilliant. I tell you what's up, Rokk. I need a stiff drink. It's what's up, Rokk. Oh dear,
what's
there
up?
he is. Look at it. Look at that
What's
beautiful
up?
face.
What's up, Rokk?
Oh, well, Lara Croft, Temple of Osiris, apparently. Ah, Duncan, Mr. Cloudy, sir. This is actually a very valid point because I mean I've seen a few people saying, "Oh, Stadia needs to keep up, and we've got so much happening technologically." The thing that's up with me this week is, will Stadia fall behind when the next generation of consoles launches later this year?
No, it will not. There's
Good.
your
Let's
quick.
move on to the next feature then.
I think it's better just to be actually 100% clear on that. No, Stadia will not fall behind because there's so much ambiguity about whereas Stadia, where it's not as powerful, it is as powerful. Stadia, if you look at it raw specs,
Mhm.
is has more power than the PlayStation 5. It may not be
Right.
it may not be showing it as yet, but that's because it's really really early. The second thing about Stadia is when Stadia upgrades, you don't have to worry, and they've already said that Stadia is going to be upgrading on a regular basis.
Hmm.
So we actually got a question during the week about. I've heard about Generation Two of Stadia as well, but we're not actually covering that in the Ask Cloudy one. It's actually fell nicely into this sort of section here. Uh, thank you for the question. And basically, Generation Two of Stadia. You actually done a brilliant article in Cloudy about this. Stadia is just going to upgrade all the time, and you may not actually see it when it happens. It's just going to constantly evolve as time goes along, and you do not have to worry. And this is what's going to keep it up with the modern day console or the next generation of consoles and the consoles after that and the PCs. Stadia is always going to tweak and add, so you do not have to worry about what the next generation is going to be because it's always going to be updated going forward.
Right. So in a way, the analogy could be when you play a game on Stadia. It says take one at random, Destiny, for example. In fact, there was a big update this week. To be fair, we could have covered this in the news to Tom Clancy's Breakpoint, whereby there was the servers went down and they updated the software, and now you can play with AI characters, artificial intelligence characters, which is great because that's like the original, the previous Breakpoint, Wildlands. Very exciting. Now, I happen to have Breakpoint on my PlayStation, and I had to download another big old multiple gigabyte size file. I had to wait for that to download. It depended how fast my internet was. Then I had to install that new update and everything. And, an hour later, I could play the game. Whereas, of course, on Stadia, there's an update. Boom. I didn't even know it was there, and it's working. And in fact, they just put a little tweet out and say, there's an update. And I'm guessing what you're saying is that this is the same in essence with the actual hardware itself, which is invisible to us. The beauty of Stadia is it's like the Apple iPhone of gaming, isn't it? It just happens. It just works. You don't have to think about it. If you want the more technical mobile phone and you want the Android that you can play with and stuff, then there's other cloud formats that you can get invested with. Stadia is all about press the old button, it just happens. So the same thing with the technology in the background as the games that we play, they just update and we suddenly think, oh, new features. Oh, wow, this looks good. We don't even need to know about it. It just happens.
Exactly. And it is the perfect way to do it. You don't have to worry about it going forward. If we'll go a wee bit geeky here, we won't go too technical because it's me. Some games I have noticed, and other people have noticed as well, that they are actually they're always changing wee settings here and there. And the one that seems to happen a lot too is Destiny 2. Uh, you can actually notice that there's slight deviations in the quality of Destiny 2. So they're always tweaking to make things better.
Yep.
So you don't actually do it. So any changes Stadia make, you don't have to worry about them because they're doing them for you. And they're
Just
always,
happens.
it just happens and it
Yeah.
will always improve. Here, on another thing to really ease your mind about Stadia, when they make a change, say there was this big massive update this generation 2, which people have different thoughts, your older games will continue to still work. So
Right.
Stadia is a lifetime platform. So the games you've got now should work 20, 30 years down the line because it's a lifetime. So
Yeah.
so that is something just to don't worry about. Basically, my thing of the generations is don't worry about it. It's going to happen. Just sit there and chill
Just let
out.
it go. Just
Just
choose your game.
and
Keep playing the darn thing. And in essence, what you're saying there, Duncan, is that if it's an older game and it runs today, it's a little bit like if I'm at home and I've got my favorite little game that I've had for years, but it was brought out for the PS1. And obviously, it's not going to work on the PS4, but it doesn't matter because I kept my PS1 just to play that game, and I plug it into the TV whenever I want to, and I play my old PS1 game. And what you're saying is the same thing will be the case with Stadia. So if a game is several years old and it does not really optimize to work on the latest version of Stadia, just still play it on an older version of Stadia that they've got running in a server farm somewhere.
Exactly. It's Stadia is the I don't want to say the lazy persons because that's not the right.
No, but it fits for me.
If you're on other platforms, you're going to have to always worry about patches, downloads, upgrades, tinkering with stuff if you're on a PC. Stadia is just their plug, play, go, or what's their click and play?
Click to play.
Click to play.
Yeah. Subtle difference.
Because I think they were saying click and play as well during it. Because that was kind of
a little confusing, wasn't it? But I think the actual feature is click to play, because you can click and play as a one, solo. It means kind of the same thing, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's just semantics, really. It's
it's very much just semantics.
But that is all. Yeah, that is a selling point, and we just need to just get this out there a bit more. That is what Stadia is. It is a platform where you just click to play or click and play or whatever way, and you don't have to worry about
death by chocolate.
Death by chocolate.
You see, this is how geeky people. This is geeky people for you people. Their brains are all over the place. They don't need to worry about the semantics and the bits that they just want to let me get my point out.
Exactly. Yeah, but that is the best thing about Stadia is the generation 2, or is it going to compete with the next level of consoles? It will. It's nothing to worry about. You just go there, you just go and play on Stadia, and don't worry about anything.
I'm much more relaxed now. Thank you for that, Duncan. And of course, we know through the rumor mill that the next generation of Stadia is already out in the wild. It's already out there with some developers. So I think it's safe to think we'll start to see the advantages show up in games that are maybe just around the corner.
Yep, I think that's a good shout. And I don't want to start any rumors, but I think I've got an idea why some games may not have an announcement of yet because of maybe generation 2 of Stadia. And they may be waiting until again, this is I know we're trying to
purely speculation. I know we try not to speculate too much on this show, but we've seen those reports.
Yeah, and I think they can't announce certain games coming to Stadia until the next generation of consoles have been announced because we may be getting the updated versions of it, and they have to wait politic-y things behind the scenes.
Yeah, of course.
In Stadia.
Oh, of course. Duncan, thank you very much for that. I'm much, much more relaxed. I hope you are as well at home and reading and watching this in chat. So let's press another button and throw ourselves into the random world of who knows what's going to happen when I do this. Oh, hang on. We haven't gone anywhere. Well, that worked. I'm going to do that again because I didn't. Oh. Here we are. It worked. Well, it kind of worked. We seem to have lost. Rokk review this week is what are we reviewing this week, Duncan?
I think we're reviewing PUBG.
We are reviewing PUBG. While I set this up, remind me what PUBG stands for because it's got lots of letters in it.
PUBG stands for Player Unknown Battlegrounds. So it is a game which has been around for a number of years now, and this is what's kicked off the Battle Royale craze. And this wasn't the first Battle Royale. it was the one which made it mainstream for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Battle Royale means you jump in and it's you or your team against 100 or massive amount of people. In this case, in PUBG, it's 100 people. In other or other games, it can be more, it can be less. But it's basically a massive multiplayer game on one map where you fight off against people. And PUBG is more realistic than the other sort of games like Fortnite. It's actually more militaristic sort of shooter. So it's a game which has been around. It's got a massive following, and it is a reasonably fun game if you're into it. And it's we're going to touch a lot of this, and when we start,
We're gonna give it a little go, aren't we? So just to remind people, as I fire this up, and I think we're gonna have some audio whether we like it or not. The Rokk review is unique. So apart from the fact that it's got Rokk at the front, we try and do something different when we review our games. So we don't specifically talk about how they look or how fast they run or whether they're 4K, 3K, whatever K. We try and look at it all from the casual gamer perspective, from the perspective of busy people. And we look at 5 things in essence. We look at whether or not the game is quick to load. We look at whether I've lost my mouse. Where is it? It's got to go somewhere around here. Can you see my mouse anywhere? Oh, I know, it's trapped in the game. Come out, young mouse. How quickly it loads. How can we pick up from where we left off when we go back into the game? How easy is it to play? Does it feel rewarding? And is it value for money? So there's 5 points. We give 5 points for those 5 points each. I look at it from the point of view of the pro subscriber, the person that's actually paying on a monthly basis, because there are slight changes and differences for some of these pointers. And Duncan, you come at it from the standard Stadia individual that isn't paying, although you do, I know. Yeah, yeah, it's a fair point, isn't it? So let's, you know what I'm going to do here, don't you? We're going to leave that one on screen for a second. You talk about how quickly can we get into the game. We just showed how quickly we can get into the game, but for our podcasting friends, how fast does the game load?
The game for me does not load that quick, and this is because it's you load into the game and then you load into you try and find the game, and then when you actually find the game, you actually are waiting about for a bit longer as well. So there's lots of wee gates in the way of actually starting up the game. So it's not a game you can get into like other games in the platform where you're in and out in 30 seconds. You're talking a good 2-3 minutes to actually get in and actually start the game proper, where you're actually falling out from the airplane.
Which you do. I'm just keep going.
Yeah, it's a game which isn't. If you're going to sit down and play PUBG, you have to actually set a bit of time. You're going to need a good half an hour to actually, depending how good you are at the game or how bad you are at the game, to actually get a good run at it. So it's not a game you can drop into really quickly. You actually have to set a bit of time aside to start the game off.
Yeah, so I mean, the point is it does. I mean, it's relatively fast as a game, but if you want to then get a game on per se, there's a little bit of effort that's involved in that. Now, what I'm just doing, folks, here is, and I'll just pull it over. Is we on a Friday night we actually do play quite a bit of PUBG with our chaps, our friends in chat and so on. So I've muted it because it is a bit industrial language, as Duncan enjoys to say. So in terms of how quickly we can get into the game. It doesn't even matter so much about the fact that it loads quite fast. Actually, then finding what kind of game you want to play, getting people to play with you, and so on and so forth, can be a bit of a bind, can't it? So we're kind of giving that one a 2 each out of 5.
I just want to add one wee tiny thing like this. This is a game which does have cross-platform multiplayer, so actually finding a game is a lot easier. than it would be if it was just Stadia only players. So you do have that speeds the process up of actually finding the game online.
Right. Okay.
But,
Fine.
but it's still a 2 for me.
No problemo. Can we pick up from where we left off? So, no, because obviously, and we say this every time, there are games that you can, but this kind of multiplayer games is not possible because, of course, you can't ask the other 39 people that played with you to sit there for an hour and wait for you to come back. So it's a bit unfair, really, to include this one in a multiplayer. It does tend to knock it down. But, it is what it is. So therefore, almost by default, the answer is no. It gets a 1. Sorry about that, PUBG. But it's no. What can we do? How easy is it to play? Well, I mean, look, I'm no slouch when it comes to the old cranial matter, but I have to say I've played this now for I don't know how many 30 odd hours, and I'm still not fully 100% sure on all the aspects. It's an interesting game in the sense that you can be playing for an hour and see absolutely no action whatsoever, and then the last 5 minutes it's all over the shop, and it's the end. So it's quite, from that point of view, it could be. But of course, you've got the tension of being in a game that it's a survival game. So in terms of learning on the job, it's a struggle. And so, yeah, I personally didn't find or have not found it easy to play. But I gave it a 2. You've gone higher than me. Why did you feel it was easier than I did?
Uh, Basically, when you work out, I think there is a slight learning curve with it, but
Yep.
as soon as you learn how to pick up the gun, it's basically go around and shoot people. You can go as deep as you want or as shallow as you want.
Yes, that's fair.
I'm very shallow, so I thought it was easy enough to play because I just pick up. I go for the strategy. I go for the biggest gun available and use that. So
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's absolutely fair. I think you're absolutely right. I'm kind of marking it from my perspective. Really, I should be thinking about this from the casual gamer's perspective. From a casual gamer's perspective, I don't think it's easy to play. I think that you're absolutely right, Duncan. There is a learning curve. As simple in principle as the game is, there is a learning curve. I know that there are guys like our good friends in the video window that we're seeing here, for example, Daz and Lee Stadiumania, who are all part of our Friday night crew, who've played this for years. They know it intimately. And the guys that are really good at it have play it incessantly, but it's not a pick up and learn and put away again and play it again another day, is it? So I'm quite confident and comfortable with my 2 for that one. Does it feel rewarding? Well, that's a good question. Does it feel rewarding? There is only one objective in this game, and that's to win and get a chicken dinner for the winner, which is a little developer's joke. You pick up stuff along the way, but you don't get to keep it. You lose it in the next game, guns and armor and so on. You've got to go and find it all again. There is a battle pass, which is now a time-honored rewarding system in games like this. So the more you play, you unlock maybe some more cosmetics or some a loot case or something. So there is an element of reward to it. But is the game itself rewarding? I don't find it is.
for me, I don't find it that rewarding. The reason being, it's like he insinuated at the beginning. It could be 20 minutes of nothing, then 10 seconds of all action, and you end up just dead.
Yeah.
If you go and win the game and get your chicken dinner, it's a 5 out from 5. But
Mhm.
I'm not that good at the game.
Well, you're better than me. if you want to laugh, folks, just watch watch Rokk Cam on a Friday night. It's truth.
Yeah, the thing about it is, it could be 20 minutes and then 5 seconds and it's all you're dead, or you could just land and you could be just picked off straight away. So that actually gets very frustrating that you've done this and you can't even see anybody, and you could go through the whole game. You could play for 30 minutes and not even shoot your gun in anger.
Yes.
And you're dead. So
Yes.
that way, I don't think it's that rewarding. But if you get your chicken dinner, it's 5 out of 5. But a lot of the other times, it's
I'm sorry, I love the way you say your chicken dinner.
chicken dinner.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Yeah, and to be fair to PUBG, that is a staple of the all battle royale games, which is the class of game that this is. Which, folks, if you're not familiar with battle royale, essentially there's a massive amount of people that start the game. In this case, up to 100. In most cases, it's a typical number between 60 and 100. And then it's an elimination process. So one by one, you will get killed until there's a couple of guys left or a couple of teams, depending on what model you're playing. They add an added challenge, which is the maps, which tend to be quite large, and they're all open world, and you can go anywhere that you want to. However, they constantly restrict the amount of the map that you can play within. In the case of PUBG, there's a big sort of blue weird energy that shrinks the circle down, so you have to keep running to stay inside the circle, which is good fun. I mean, actually for me, that's probably one of the most fun aspects of the game. And other battle royales have very similar metrics, and they just deal with it in a slightly different way. So those are the kind of two ways. Otherwise, if you think about it, you find a sniper rifle, you'd go and sort of find a nice sniping position for the whole game and just wait for people to walk past. So yeah, Duncan does that. Lee's favorite trick is to just hide in a bush, which kind of works. So that's essentially the rewarding aspect. And then we come on to, is it value for money? Well, look, I'm a pro, this is my pro review. And the point is this, it's free to claim if you're a pro subscriber. So truthfully, I've got it as 3 here, but in fairness, it's very good value for money. I don't know why I marked it down. So, I mean, it's actually higher than that. But I'm going to stick with 3 because, that's the way of the world. And you've given it a similar value of 3, Duncan, even though you do have to buy it if you're not a pro game subscriber.
Yeah, it's a game which, if you get it, you are going to absolutely spend hours upon hours, if not hundreds of hours in game. So
Yeah.
if you don't get it, you're going to refund it. By the way, you can refund games in Stadia if you haven't played it
Yes.
2 hours, which is that could be an Ask Cloudy for one coming up.
Yeah, we'll keep that one up our sleeve.
I keep that one up our sleeve. But yeah, it's that's why I've given it a 3. If you don't like the game at all, it's a 1. If you love it, it's going to be a 5. And there's not going to be many people in between. So that's why I've given it a 3. It's about £40 for the battle pass and the game, which is a sort of standard sort of price. And I'm assuming that that's going to be an offer a lot as well. If you're considering it, pick it up in Pro and try it out. Even for the £8, just say, yeah, I actually like that, I'm going to keep it. If you're just tempted for it, wait till there's a Stadia sale and get it a bit cheaper. And I think there may be a sale coming up on it because they're going to be, as we mentioned in the news earlier, they're launching a new map or the big update, and that's usually when you get a couple of offers on the go.
And also, am I right in saying that you can throw real money at the game and buy in-game cosmetics, suits, that kind of stuff?
You can indeed. You can buy cosmetics and the battle pass, as you've mentioned there. So there's a new battle pass coming out as well. So I'm assuming there's going to be a new pro deal, including the new battle pass.
I just want to give a quick shout out to myself, actually, Dunk, because I was quite proud on Friday. If you're watching this on the video, and if you do listen to us on podcast, thank you ever so much for that. We really appreciate it. But please do have a quick look on the old video as well, because we show a lot of the stuff on the screen here. And you'll notice, young chat, that at the very top it says Dunk Cam. So yes, this week on Rockstars at Night, everybody had their own cam, which was great. We could flick between everybody's game. I say everybody, the 4 folk that you see in the window there. So we had Dunk Cam and Rokk Cam. We would have had Daz Cam and Dan Cam, but they couldn't get it to work. But they'll get it sorted for next week, I'm sure. And Dan was our special guest. Lee took some time out, was in the chat, and did some great stuff there. But yeah, there you go. There's only one show, folks, where you get the guests' cams. You can see everybody playing at the same time, and we're not talking here about a Stadia-based feature. Right. Anyway, trumpet blown.
I thought you were going to say you actually killed me and it's on camera.
I did. I don't think it was this moment, though. You'll also see Duncan. I don't know why, but Duncan favours running around with just his underpants on in this game. I'm sure it's a reflection of real life. Camouflage. Is it? That's what you say. Yes. You try telling that to the Garda, mate. Or whatever they're called in your part of the world. Let's have a look at the final score, because we have one. Overall, then, we both actually, we're totting up those numbers, have given it 11 out of 25. So a middling score. I think that's fair. As I've said, this is not Rokk Review is not a reflection on the quality of the game in terms of, if you're a hardcore gamer or you've got more time to spare. Purely on the basis of being a casual gamer, being able to drop in, drop out, I don't think this is a game that you want to worry too much about.
Yeah, it's if you're looking for a big, longer sort of gaming session and you want to go for that sort of thing, yeah, it's a game to consider. But for a casual sort of, I just want to jump in, jump out, it's not really. No. You will have to spend a wee bit of time with it, and you have to set a bit of time aside for it.
And as you there, look at you dying away on the screen, bless you. This was the end of the game, the end of the road for Duncan. There he goes. Dunkcam bit the dust. While we watch Duncan biting the dust, let's take another stroll down random risk lane and see what happens when we press our next button. You know it's got to be fun, right? Brilliant. There you go. Look at that. I can sort this one out. Hang on a second. Just wait one cotton picking minute. Folks, this has been an absolute disaster this week, but at the same time, it's been quite fun. I know that there is. What do you reckon? That one or that one? Your choice. Those people or Duncan. But it has been fun. It all went wrong when my keyboard failed. I'm sorry. I normally spend a load of time prepping this show, but without a keyboard, it was never going to happen. So there you go. And do you know what the worst of it was? It was a little Mac keyboard. Look. I know. It was a little remote Mac keyboard. There you go. Duncan, it's Ask Cloudy. And we normally ask you a question. I don't have a clue what question we've got for you this week.
I was going to say we're well over schedule here today, so we could leave the Ask Cloudy.
Let's have a quick Ask Cloudy. Come on, let's just do a quick one. What was you've had a few tweets this week. I know we put them out there. What was your favourite one?
We will go for what is 60 FPS.
What is 60 FPS?
Yes.
Good question. What is 60 FPS, Duncan?
60 FPS is the refresh rate on the screen here.
Mm-hmm.
There's two main for Stadia, which is 30 FPS and 60 FPS. Basically, that tells you how quickly the screen refreshes. Some people can notice straight away the difference between the two. This is because of 30 FPS, sometimes it feels a bit more jerky, while 60 FPS is a bit more smoother.
I'm feeling a bit jerky today, mate, I can assure you.
Yep. So, some people say that it's 30 FPS feels like that, while 60 is a lot, just feels faster and smoother and all that sort of thing. You can notice it in games, or I can notice it in games, but a lot of people... The best way to say about it is if you actually put two screens up, one 30 FPS and one 60 FPS, you can notice a difference in just the way it looks and feels, or like that there.
I went drunk for a second there.
Yeah. So I thought I was getting a little blurry.
Yes, those new glasses. Now, FPS stands for what?
Frames per second.
Frames per second. And actually, I guess the easiest way I think to describe this is if you remember back in the very, very, very old days of film, the old sort of Charlie Chaplin film, And you ever look at a reel of film and you see it's made up of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different instances of in fact, a camera taking a picture every a fraction of a second. Now, in film terms, or certainly TV terms, it was about 24 frames per second of those photographs that makes up 1 second of film. And of course, that wholly depends on the technology and so on. They found that if they increase the amount of those photos in a frame, it takes out some of the blurriness, which looks a bit weird on film and TV. Actually, they call it in America, they call it soap opera. Like a soap opera vision, because they used to increase the frames on. I don't know why, but apparently in American soap operas they used to increase the frames for some reason. So yeah, and I think Lord of the Rings came out at 60 frames per second as well as a film when
The Hobbit.
The Hobbit was it, yeah. And again, if you watch it, and not all cinemas or movie theaters are capable of showing films at that speed, but it's an oddity. Now, however, play a game at 60 frames per second, it's a wholly different thing, because you see detail that you didn't see at 30 frames per second. As I've said, the speed of those frames per second, the eye is an amazing thing. The brain's doing a load of work in there, and it's putting all those little screen images together. But at 30 frames per second, there's just not quite enough imagery, so it tends to be a bit blurry between each one. At 60, it's crisp. So if you're playing a game, I mean, even a multiplayer game, for example, I know things like Call of Duty and any of those esports multiplayer games, they demand higher refresh rate, higher frames per second, because they need that detail in order to see where off in the distance the enemies are and stuff. So having said all that, one of the things, and I know I'm kind of doing the Ask Cloudy for you this week, but one of the things that a lot of people say, Duncan, is that, yes, it's great to have 4K and the extra resolution. And so when you stop and look at an inanimate object close up on your TV, you go, wow, look at all that stuff. But actually, 60 frames per second is preferable if you sit back from the screen, because 4K kind of the detail gets lost the further back you sit, to be fair. So one of the options you get with Stadia, of course, if you downgrade the performance level, is 1080p 60 frames per second. And again, if you sat 10 feet away from the television on your old CCU, your Chromecast Ultra, the 60 frames per second is what makes the big difference there.
Yeah, exactly. Some games are 4K 60 FPS in Stadia. The best example of to show the difference on how it affects Stadia is Borderlands 3.
Right, yeah.
If you've bought Borderlands 3 and you've got a 4K TV, if you put up the high quality mode and you play it in 4K, play it for 10 seconds and then bring it down, close out from the game and change the mode to balanced. That brings it up as 1080 and 60 FPS and play about with that. And there is just a noticeable difference. For me, if I'm given the choice between 4K 60 or 1080 60 or 4K 30 or 1080 60, it would be 1080 60 because it is such a much better feeling of the game.
Of course. Great. Well, I hope that's helped with the old the question that you had there. I did see that one pop up on Twitter.
Yeah.
Duncan, it's the end of the show. Where can people find you, my friend?
You can find me at cloudywithachanceofgames.com, and you can also find me at One to Escape on Twitter. What about you, young Rokk? Where can we find you?
Well, it's very kind of you to call me young, seeing I'm about 53 years older than you. You can find me at Stadia Rokks. In fact, anything from YouTube to Facebook to Twitter, as long as you go looking for Stadia Rokks, you'll find me hiding there, lurking in the corner somewhere, being my usual positive smiley self. Chat, thank you ever so much for joining. It's been a fun one, an interesting one, and we hope we've brightened your day with some chuckles. Join us on Wednesday for Rokk Around the Clock. You've also, I've been very remiss, by the way, and not mentioned that Cloudy with a Chance of Games has done exceptionally well this week, your kind of inaugural week, hasn't it? You've been kept very busy.
been very, very busy, and I want to thank everybody for joining us on it. And if you haven't, you can follow us on Twitter with Cloudy with Games. We're pushing out news, and it's not just Stadia. We are touching a bit of Xbox, touch Shadow, PlayStation, everything under all the different cloud gaming platforms. But Stadia is our primary focus.
And you have a show as well coming up this week, I think. I know it's scheduled for Tuesday.
Yeah, it's scheduled for Tuesday. We may be changing the day, maybe the time, because we don't want the Class with Your Good show.
It's clashing with my show. It's clashing with my show, folks.
Yeah.
It's so wonderful.
We've been talking behind the scenes here, but I think I may push it to 8 o'clock so it's not clashing. Would
Good
that
idea. Yes,
eh,
that'll
eh,
be good.
8
I might
o'clock?
even jump in and play with you if you do that, just because
Yeah.
you're a good boy.
Yeah, we're going to play some Wave Break. Me and Kelly are going to play some Wave Break, and we would love anybody to join us. We're going to stream that, and yeah, it's going to be good fun.
And that's going to be one of those where you jump in, like we've been talking about, that we do on a Friday. So you'll be playing games where people can jump in, and of course, as we see click to play and click and play take off, they'll be able to just literally click a button in YouTube, jump in and play with you guys.
Exactly, and that's
Absolutely fantastic.
And we're just one more tiny bit of talk thing I want to say. We're actually going to be live streaming the Xbox conference on Thursday as well,
Yep.
which is going to be a lot of fun. And you're going to see Kelly get extremely excited during that because she is a massive Halo fan.
Right. wonder where we were going. I'm glad you qualified that there.
You just jumped the gun there.
No, I know it's not the kind of show that we should be encouraging people to watch, Duncan. Let's be honest, not on a Sunday.
Definitely
Thank you very much, my friend. It's an absolute pleasure as always. We did skirt through some. There was a massive week of news this week, so I think we did quite well to cover a lot of it. Apologies if we left anything out, but as I said, do join us on Wednesday. We have a little bit more of a deep dive on this stuff, Rock Around the Clock, and then Friday night, which is strictly for children over 18, we have Rock Stars at Night, which is always a chuckle. Hope you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend and a fantastic week to come. Thank you, as always, for our friends in the chat that have been throwing us comments and keeping us entertained. One more thing to say, and that is what do we normally say at this point in the show?
Something would it be rock out?
Rock out. Exactly. Rock out.